So my question is, they do look at you differently, but did you have to prove to them you were smart enough to be teaching them?
Which is a light to give energy and the force. I'm just sitting here just seeing, I just see you, I don't know you, but just the words that you spoke and listen, what power.
Ask this young man, what does your dad do? And he said, oh, he's in prison. And he really stopped me. I mean, I didn't know where to go from there.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Ms. Lucia for the invite to finish the second part of my presentation, The Elephant in the Classroom. I was talking about race and culture. When I came in, I heard you guys talking about recruiting minority teachers, which is a need. I believe that students can't be what they can't see. So African American students definitely need to see African American teachers. Now, this is the only thing, is that black people in this country make up probably 12.5% of the entire population. And so if we took every one of those black people, every one, and said, we need you to become a teacher, and if all of them agreed, you still wouldn't have nearly enough African American teachers in a school with that small population. So the fact of the matter is, we need white teachers who are effective at teaching students of color. This is what we need. And realistically, this is what we're going to have for success of these students in the future. Even if you got all 12%, that's still not enough. Maybe every kid would see, if that 12% was equally distributed throughout the entire nation, maybe every kid might see 2 black teachers in their whole career. You see? So the fact of the matter is we need white teachers to help us, and other teachers. We need all kinds of teachers. So this takes me into my presentation. If you saw my last presentation, I ended talking about regular teachers and special teachers. There is a difference between regular teachers and special teachers. So my objectives for the night, what I want you to understand by the end of this night are the unique differences between regular teachers and special teachers. Also, I want you to recognize the unique challenges faced by white teachers teaching low-income students of color. There are unique challenges that white teachers might face that I might not face initially. And that's a key word, initially, at the beginning. I might not face the same challenges they might face at the beginning. We're going to talk about that very shortly. And I want everyone in here to understand how you can become a special teacher. How you can become a special teacher. People ask me all the time, when I'm talking to my friends who are administrators, they say, well, Mike, are your teachers born special or can they be formed special? I said, man, the answer is yes and yes. Okay? Yes, they are absolutely some who are born special. They have the it factor. No matter who the kids are, they can relate to them and they get results. We know those teachers. There's not a whole bunch of them, but we know them, right? Who in here have ever been in education? Okay, so you've seen them. You've seen these teachers. But regular teachers can also become special teachers. Now this is debatable. Some people say, nope, that's not going to happen. Either you're special or you're not. I beg to differ. I believe that teachers can become special, but it's a process, and it's difficult. And I'm going to share with you the difficulties of that process tonight. Now, my last presentation, I told you, regular teachers, they're going down a familiar road. What's comfortable, what's normal, what's traditional. Down this road right here, there's a great deal of non-tradition taking place. There's some unorthodoxy, and there's some level of uncomfortability. Tonight, we're going to travel down that road, because that's the road that special teachers take. Now, one of the differences I've found in special teachers since I've been in education is that regular teachers are good teachers. I'm not saying they're bad teachers. They're good teachers. But they're only good for those students who come to school already equipped with pristine tools to do the work. So they're already good with these types of students. Yeah, so they are good. Regular teachers are good, but they're good with these kids because these kids already come to school prepared to learn. Right? Now, who said they've seen it? Absolutely, everybody's seen it. Now, but the thing about the special teacher, of course, she or he is good with that group, but that teacher is also good with this group. You see, now with this group, you got to do something a little bit different. This group does not have those tools as shined up and polished as the others. So they can't go straight into the work because their tools are not functioning like they're supposed to at this point. So what a special teacher does is spends time with that student. It's a collaborative thing here, polishing those tools. That's where the connection, that's where the relationship comes from. The relationship is built when she works with that student, polishing those tools to get them ready to do the work. They don't just say, here, do the work. Well, they can't necessarily do the work. And that's going to lead to frustration. It's going to lead to behavioral issues. It's going to lead to a broken connection, you see. So special teachers polish those with the help of the student. That relationship is built, and then that student's going to be ready to do the work. Those are some differences right there. These teachers here, teachers come in all shapes and sizes. They come in all colors. They come with all different beliefs, all different attitudes, all different personalities. One thing, though, they all share, especially if they were born in this country and raised here. They got the same indoctrination. That historical misinformation, misrepresentation, misinterpretation, propaganda, and stereotype that I always talk about, they got that same information. All of them did. The question, though, is how do you internalize it? What does that information do to you? How do you internalize it is the big question. Because the way you internalize that shapes your worldview. It shapes your attitude toward people. How do you internalize that information? Everybody internalizes it maybe a little bit different. Now, I want you guys to participate with me and help me with something. I was going to bring in a pencil and have people write, but we're a little bit behind schedule, so I'm not going to do that tonight. I want you to just tell me, raise your hand, and talk to me about this thing here. Anything you want to say.
It's a mosquito.
All right, it's a mosquito. So let's talk about it. Tell me about the mosquito. Oh, that virus that affects pregnant women now. I got it. Anybody else? Tell me about it. Tell me about the mosquito.
Only the female ones bite people.
That's correct. That is correct.
Found in small areas of water.
Stagnant water.
Got it. Stagnant. Okay. Anything else?
Annoying bugs.
Annoying. Annoying. Anybody else?
And they can be bloody.
They can be.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And you can put birth control in the water for them. And it works better than toxins sometimes.
And on that note, we're going to go to the next slide. Hey, tell me about this creature here.
Tarantula.
Oh,
It's an arachnid.
That's an arachnid. Tell me something about this.
You can want to avoid it.
Want to avoid it. Got it.
no, you want to hang them at Walgreens in Kilmarnock where one of the cashiers is phobic.
Anybody else? Dangerous. Want to avoid it.
We do blessings of them at St. Stephen's Episcopal on the blessing of the animals.
Okay.
Interesting.
They make good pets, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, slept in a room one time with one.
Oh, yeah? You trapped. Scary. Awesome. Hey, how about this fella here?
Oh.
It's corn.
Well, let's see the head.
Scary.
Scary.
It's triangular, isn't
Yeah.
Unpredictable. Poisonous.
Is it? I don't think it is.
It's a corn snake, not a copperhead, isn't it?
Oh, I don't. It looks dangerous to me. That's why. Okay.
In this area, we have snakes that look very similar that are poisonous and not.
Got it,
But
got it.
the non-poisonous ones are actually beneficial, controlling rodents and insects.
Oh.
And they're illegal to kill in Virginia.
Well, look, stop right there because Terry, you're going into my presentation. That was awesome. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hey, listen to this. This is what I wanted you guys to hear. And I want you to know that I heard you very carefully. I listened to everything that you said. And everything affiliated with these three living organisms were negative. Okay? But listen.
Not everybody.
Okay.
They are one of God's creatures.
They are. So let me finish my point here. So this is my point. Listen. That and not to go too scientifically here, but I just want to say the mosquito, just as you said, is pretty good information there. The mosquito has something called a larvae that feeds like a whole bunch of different species of fish. Without the mosquito, even though you say it's annoying, without the mosquito, there's a very strong chance we wouldn't have half of the fish that we have on Earth. And many humans eat fish. So without the mosquito, we would be in trouble as far as fish. Now, the spider, now this creature is very, very important. Without the spider, within a decade, maybe 20 years, we would probably be in a world famine. Why? Because it controls the population of those insects that would eat all of our crops and destroy our crops. The spider is very important to human beings. What about the snake? Those rodents that you were just talking about? Now, if those disease-causing rodents like the rat and the mice, if those things could be just at free reign and reproduce and nothing is there to check and balance this population, then, I'm sorry, that threw me off a little bit. If that was the case, then guess what? They would bring us disease and they'd be all through our houses. You see? So the snake does that for us. Each one of these annoying insects and arachnids and this reptile here, each one of these things have a unique gift that they give to mankind. So, but the thing is, most of the time, we can only see the negative and we miss the unique gift beside this gentleman here. We miss the unique gift. Now listen, if the snake and the mosquito and the spider have this gift granted to them by the Creator that's going to help the entire world, what more is the gift that we have inside of us? You see, we have to have a gift in us then if he gives a gift to those living creatures there. Now, this is the problem. Now, I'm getting back to kids now. Is that these kids right here, and I'm talking about the low-income students of color, these kids here get the same rap as those previous organisms. They really do. Now, I'm not comparing an insect and arachnid and a reptile to children, but the principle is the same. Many times when these kids go into a school building, the first thing people say are negative thoughts or are negative thoughts. This is the first thing many people develop based on those prejudices. And guess what? Those prejudices don't allow them to be able to see the gift that this child has inside. And if you can't see this gift, then it's going to be very, very hard to connect with that student if you can't see the gift. Now, can these students suck the very blood out of a learning environment? The answer is yes. Like a mosquito. Can they sting you with the disrespectful words that they say to you out of their mouths, just like a spider? The answer is yes. Can these students, through a bad attitude, disrespect, defiance, and disruption, inject a venom into the vein of the teacher that will poison her attitude to not only them, but to students who look like them? Yes. Absolutely yes. Now, the good thing about humans is that we can change. Mosquitoes, their behavior is not going to change. They're always going to bite you, right? But humans can change if in the right environment, if with the right amount of nurturing, they can change. And special teachers understand this. Let me tell you what special teachers see. Special teachers see the seed that's in every child. They see the seed. And because they see the seed, they understand that there is a tree in every seed. That tree grows up to give gifts to the humanity. So special teachers raise their level of expectations based on what they see. The negative, they know it's there, but it doesn't outweigh the seed. They understand that the seed is there to grow. A special teacher's classroom, I like to say it's dirty. No, not literally. I don't like dirty class literally. I'm saying that it's filled with soil because it is in soil that seeds germinate. They have to have a good soil, pastors. Yes. You see? And so a good special teacher has a classroom that is soily, if you will. Now, what about those regular teachers, and I'm not saying anything bad about regular teachers, but what about those regular teachers whose classroom looks like this? See, that's a concrete slab there. See, when you put a seed on a concrete slab, it doesn't matter how much you instruct it. You can say, hey, listen, you should be grown by now. It's been a whole 3 months. You should be showing some growth. Well, that seed is in an environment that is unhealthy for it. It'll never grow in that environment. It's miserable in that environment. So if you have a classroom that's hard and cold, that's not conducive to seed growth, then your children are not going to respond. You see, you cannot put a seed with all that potential. There's a tree inside that thing. You can't put that seed on concrete. It has to be placed in good soil. Now, for my 7th grade science class, I remember a few things. In order for a seed to grow, it has to have 4 things. It has to have water. It has to have, what's next? Nutrients from the soil, that's 3rd, but it has to have nutrients from the soil. It has to have light, and it has to have the right temperature. It has to have warmth. Now, how do I see this when I transfer it over to teachers and students and the seed that they have? The water equals the care. You see, kids don't care how much you know.
Until they know how much you care.
That's what I was waiting for. You see, so the care has to be there. Now, the care is the water to the seed. So if a teacher goes to a child and cares for this child, and this child doesn't show any response right away, a special teacher is never going to stop caring for that kid. He's never, or she's never going to stop. Would you think a farmer would take a seed and put water on it and come back 3 hours later and say, this seed is not growing, I'm not giving you any more water? Absolutely not. It takes consistent water to make that seed a little bit softer. You see, in time. So you have to consistently care. Regular teachers care. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying regular teachers can stop caring after a certain time. Special teachers will never stop caring. The warmth comes from the teacher's heart. You see, this is the radiator that radiates the heat, that gives the classroom warmth. And you do it by giving encouragement and support. When you care about kids and you give them encouragement and support, it doesn't matter what color you are. They're gonna start responding. Now, the whole thing is not done yet with just encouragement and support and care. You have to have nutrients. Now, this is very important. Nutrients means you basically have to know your instruction. You have to know your subject content. You have to understand the modern day pedagogies and learning styles and all these technical things. You have to know these as well. Because students deep down inside, no matter what people say, they want to learn. Oh, they want to learn. That is a promise. The worst kid you can ever think of wants to learn. He might not want to learn from the concrete teacher in the classroom, but he wants to learn from somebody. All right? And last but not least is light. They have to have light. Now, the weird thing about plants is that they defy gravity. They go up, and they're attracted to the light, to the sun. The same thing you will see. If you do all these 3 things, water, warmth, and nutrients, if you do all these 3 things with students, you'll be sitting in your classroom on planning period, minding your own business. And the worst kid in the school will walk by 20 teachers just to sit in your presence, because the seed is always attracted to the light. Now I want to move to some of the challenges that specifically white teachers face with low-income students of color throughout this country. Not just this county, but throughout this country. This is a universal issue. Now, that's me right there, guys. Am I cool? I would like to say that as an African-American teacher, and I taught for 13 years, and I taught in the city of Richmond where all my kids were African-American for 4 years. So as an African-American teacher, I got something that, there were white teachers in my buildings too, by the way. A lot of white teachers in the city of Richmond teaching. But I got something that my white colleagues didn't get, and I recognize it. I won't deny it. I got something called a prejudice pass. My kids gave it to me. You see, when I came into the classroom, they did not automatically assume that I was prejudiced against it. And because I got this prejudice pass, I got a little small window of time to show that I cared about them, that I would encourage and support them, that I would give them nutrients. They gave me a little window of time to prove myself to them, that I was worthy to teach them. They gave me a little window. Now, within this window, I didn't get other passes now. I didn't get this is just a job for a paycheck pass. I didn't get I can be incompetent pass. These students were watching, and they picked up any of those characteristics, you can best believe they would tear me up. And it didn't matter that I was an African-American person. It didn't matter. They would tear me up. Now, when the white teacher goes in, they don't get the same pass. They don't get the same pass. See, that student is going to assume that they are prejudiced against them, even if they're not. They're going to assume that that teacher is prejudiced against them. And in essence, the student themselves is being prejudiced because they are prejudging the teacher. All right? And that's where all these elephants in the room come from with this combination, you see. So this is what happens essentially in that classroom. That teacher does not get the opportunity to use that small window that I got. She has to persevere through the storm. So she has to show that she cares, that she supports the students, that she encourages, but she has to do it within the storm. She doesn't get a clear weather day like I did. You see? Now, truly special teachers can sustain the storm because they know it's only temporary. You see, it's only going to be temporary. When those kids see that you have strength, and the strength is not how much you fuss at them. They're not scared of you. They're not scared of me. The strength is that you can take a licking and keep on ticking. When they see that, they equate that to, she must care. She came back Tuesday morning after we ate her up pretty much on Monday. You see, they equate that with care and strength, and they respect. And it won't be long then, teacher, that you will have those kids attracted to you just as the light. And it doesn't matter what color you are. But you have to be able to sustain the storm. Most teachers cannot sustain it. Most teachers get terribly frustrated, and they can't sustain it. Now, teachers, white teachers in particular, who want to become special teachers and reach those kids, they have to go through something that I call a cognitive renaissance. Don't worry about looking that up. I just totally made that whole phrase up for this presentation. But it means cognitive thinking. Renaissance means rebirth. So you have to go through a thinking rebirth, which is very, very, very tough. You understand, in January 3rd, 1997, I was in the hospital room with my wife when she gave birth to my little baby girl. And I can tell you, my wife is tough. She's strong. But when I left that hospital that night, I understood, if I never understood it before, that birth hurts. I don't want to try. And so when you have a thinking rebirth, it has to hurt. And I'm going to share with you right now why it hurts. This is one of my favorite slides. I use this in my white privilege presentation. I also use it in my last presentation, but it says so much. And so let me share with you why birth hurts. See that group at the top? This group is positioned at the top based on a historic system of oppression. Well, we understand the descendants of the oppressors have that hierarchical place of arrangement in society today that's higher. And those marginalized people have a lower place in society. We understand, everyone understands this hierarchy, okay? Now, this group right here at the top, very nice people, but they were conditioned to believe that they are the most important people in this country. It's not their fault. They were conditioned to believe this, right? Not only were they conditioned to believe it, they were positioned to believe it. You see, now these people were conditioned to believe that they are not the most important people in this country, but not only were they conditioned to believe it, they are positioned to believe it. Now, how you internalize that is up to you. We're not going to go into, that's a whole nother presentation. But you do internalize it differently. But the question is here is, what can this group right here do, all right, to be effective with those low-income students of color? Well, they have to do a couple things. But I've figured it out after 20 years. It's really an easy answer of what they really have to do. It's an easy answer, but hard to do. They have to practice something called humility. Hold, wait. Don't fuss at me yet, because this is going to get better. Humility. Now, am I saying that these people are arrogant and conceited and stuck up and cocky? Absolutely not. They're probably as nice as you guys are in here today. You see, but I'm not talking about personality. I'm talking about positioning. And I'm going to explain that too. You see, the word humility is defined: having a modest or low view of one's own importance. Having a modest or low view of one's own importance. Understand that you will go through a cognitive renaissance when I tell you that, if you've been trained for centuries to believe that you are the most important. That in itself is very difficult to do. But that's what humility is. Someone else defined it like this. Humility is having the ability to see the world through the eyes of others. Now, not only am I telling you, you got to now not see yourself as the most important, now I'm telling you, you have to come down here and see the world through those people's eyes. That's two things most people are not willing to do. You hear them saying that, I'm not going down to nobody's level. They better come up to mine. You see. Now, anybody know this lady right here? Right, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, they call her. Stood 5 feet tall. 5 feet. And is now considered a giant in human history. But let me tell you why. It's because Mother Teresa understood that you cannot save a people you are not willing to serve. She knew that you could not lead a people that you don't have the capacity to love. She was a school teacher. That's why I picked her for this presentation. Nobody knows that, really. Anybody know that? She was a school teacher. Now guess what? Oh man, this is really great. She was walking to school every day, and she would often pass over sick and dying people. She's Albanian born, but citizenship in India. She was walking over these sick and dying people every day. So finally one day she got fed up. She went to her headmaster and said, you know what, just give my last check. I don't want to teach anymore. I'm going out here and help all these dying and hurting people. Well, like a good principal, he was like, I don't really want to lose you. I mean, you're like one of the best teachers we have. You know, her heart is so good, right? She said, well, I just get my check. I need to go. I need to do it. He said, there's so many dying and sick people out there. How could you possibly make a difference? And she said, I will start with one. And that's what she did. And Mother Teresa is today, I mean, we pretty much, everybody knows her, right? Very good job with that one. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Special teachers and regular teachers are different when it comes to this. Who remembers this from the last presentation? Yeah. All right, some of those pictures, when the doors open, they'll stay. Yeah. All right, regular teachers will look at them and, that's right, and then give instructions, right? That's what they'll do. Special teachers won't look. No, special teachers won't look. You see, they'll see. And there's a difference between looking and seeing. As I look through the room, I see a gentleman with a red shirt. I see I'm looking at a woman with a headband on. I'm looking at a woman with a blue shirt, a pretty blue shirt on. This is what happens when I look. But when I see that woman with that pretty blue shirt on also has a beautiful smile. I see that young lady with the headband on has a lovely shirt and skirt combination. She's not looking at me. I'm looking at you. Seeing is what makes you connect, not looking. A special teacher will go inside that cage with her pretty shoes on and with her pretty dress on. She'll go inside that cage and she will see what those pigeons see. It's the difference between those two things. Regular teachers listen. You see, but I can listen to you and watch my watch. I can listen to you and space out into space. I can listen to you and pay you no attention. But hearing is a lot deeper. And when I hear you, you look at me and say, this guy values what I'm saying. And that makes us connect because you want to be heard. So my wife, my first 2 years of marriage was tough for me because I listened, but I didn't hear. Right? So she'd tell me something Saturday, I forget Monday. And when we got to that subject again, and I didn't know what she was talking about, she got very angry at me. But it wasn't because I didn't listen, it was because I didn't hear her. And what she did was equate that detail that I didn't hear as my love for her, which I couldn't understand what you get so mad for, baby. I just forgot. I understand now. I wear hearing aids and I hear perfectly. Regular teachers will touch. They will touch. But with a handshake or with a pat on the back, this is a good strategy for teachers, right? But in addition to that, special teachers feel. So if you got your head down in my classroom on Wednesday, but you didn't do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I think there's probably maybe something wrong. So I'm not going to say, hey, listen, Mr. Williams, can you please lift your head up and get this work done? We got a test Friday. I'm not going to say that to him. I'm going to let him keep his head down there. Then what the teachers will say, well, look, if you let him keep his head down, all the other kids are going to put their head down. I'm gonna say, okay, well, your classroom must be one of those concrete classrooms then. Because otherwise everybody gonna want to put their, somebody needs to want to be engaged there if you're running a good, solid classroom. So let's move on. But I want to share this last thing with you before I leave, my personal story. And I don't tell a lot of my business, but this is pretty important. I'm gonna tell you. It fits into this presentation perfectly. I was a mediocre student for most of my career in school. I was a very good basketball player. And so that's where my value was. Everybody told me how great I was at basketball, but nobody really ever pushed me to be one of the best students I could be. You see, my parents, my dad had a 6th grade education, and my mother might have made it to 8th grade. But they stopped and worked and helped take care of the families like many other people in my community did. My mother could read very well, write poetry, she's pretty sharp. My dad, he struggled with reading, so he had to learn, he taught his own self really how to be a good reader by reading the Bible. All right, so with that alone, I knew that I had some cognitive skills. If I had a daddy who couldn't read well, but then taught himself to read better, that's pretty heavy stuff, all right? Now, so, but they expected me to graduate from high school because neither one of them did. And now, if they had graduated from high school, they probably would have expected me to graduate from college. But college really never came up in my house. It was just get up, go to school, get your work done, and graduate from high school. As a result, I was a mediocre student. Now, this is what's important. By my 9th grade year, I believed that I was mediocre. I really believed I was. And so when I was fixing my schedule for my end of my 9th grade year, I wanted all the study halls I could get, and I wanted all the consumer math class and general math classes I could get. Stay far away from those complicated maths, right? And so I wanted a study hall this particular year, and my school counselor said, well, I can give you this study hall, Mike, but it has to be with this teacher. And when she said the name, I didn't know this teacher, I just heard about her. And when she said the name, I said, no, you have to fix my schedule another way. I don't want to be in that lady's class. You see, her name was Miss Betsy Simmons from Middlesex. And she was known to be tough. She could have football players crying. So I knew I didn't want to be in her classroom. So long story short, they couldn't fix my schedule any other way, so I ended up in her classroom. So my first day in her class, I was in the back of the class, and I said to myself, I saw her sitting at her desk. I said, basically, you don't bother me, I don't bother you, we'll be just fine. This is what I said. So probably a couple weeks went by. I went in the classroom, I'm doing my little decimal problems in the math, and one day, she walked around the class. There was only about 6 or 7 of us in there, because it was a study hall. And she walked by me, and she put her hand on my shoulder, just like this, just tapping on my shoulder, and was looking at my work. And I was doing something with decimals, I don't even remember what it was, but she said, Mike, you're pretty smart. This is what she said. I was like, wow. I mean, I couldn't even make sense out of that. That's not something I really heard a lot, but I liked the way it made me feel. So 2 days later, I moved up a little bit closer. I moved to the middle of the classroom, hoping that she would say something to me. She didn't. A whole another week passed, and finally I moved to the front of the classroom because I had all those empty seats because there was only like 6 or 7 kids in there. And finally, she must have knew what I was doing because she came over and she started talking to me, right? And we talked every day about almost everything you can imagine. Sports, college, never really thought about, she made me talk about college, all these things we were talking about. And I saw myself going through the day looking forward to talking to her at my 7th period study hall class. Well, this is how it ends. At the very end of the year, it was May. She said, Mike, you really need to consider taking algebra. You want to go to college and play basketball, don't you? You got to take algebra. And I looked at her, and by this time I liked her, so I didn't want to disappoint her. And I said, well, Miss Simmons, algebra for all them smart kids. This is what I told her. And she looked at me dead in my eyes, and I almost get teary-eyed when I think about it today because this was the day that changed my life. She said, but Mike, you are one of the smart kids. And it was that day that I became a smart kid. I took Algebra 1 Part 1 to start off to see if I liked it or not. I ended up taking Algebra 1. I took Algebra 2, trigonometry, geometry, and guess what? Passed them all. And didn't have to take the exam because I got A's and B's. It was just sophisticated math, adding, subtracting, and all that. It's like, what? This is really what changed my life. This lady here. See, she's still living, and I go see a little small white lady. Yes, little small white lady named Miss Simmons. Every time I'm home seeing my mother, I always stop by and see her, and take her something, give her a nice hug, and she talks. She can't talk well. She got cancer in 2000, throat cancer. So you can't really understand her that well, but I can understand her. when we talk. And she is the lady who absolutely changed my life. That's why I often tell people, it's not about color. Kids don't care about color, they care about your heart. And regular teachers, from what I understand, they can tell you what they're teaching. They can tell you how to teach it. They can say when to teach it based on their pacing charts. They can even tell you where to teach it, whether they take them on a field trip or take them on the back of the school to the stream. But special teachers can tell you who they're teaching. And most importantly, special teachers know why they're teaching, and what they're teaching always connects to the seeds. Thank you. Okay.
When you went into the classroom the first time and had that little space,
Yes.
you had all black children in that class. They had been conditioned in the little back piece of their head that they belonged to that bottom part, but you did too. So my question is, they do look at you differently, but did you have to prove to them you were smart enough to be teaching them?
Right, absolutely.
Or did they feel like they were getting a short shrift?
That's an awesome question. Thank you so much for asking that question. Understand that kids get that historical information as well about themselves. That group I shared with you at the bottom, that history we get is that we're dumb, that we're not smart, that we're not quite capable and competent. This is the history that these kids get. So when they see me, of course, they would prejudge that part about me. So I have to not show those characteristics in order to win their respect. So I prepared lesson plans for 2 to 3 hours every night. I knew I was planning for their life. It's not like here. This is a very easy area to teach because the kids are not like the kids that I'm familiar with in the city. If you didn't plan for the kids there, like your life depended on it, they would destroy you because they demanded the best from you. You couldn't be there for a paycheck. You couldn't be there just because you got summers off. You had to teach them, and you had to prove yourself worthy of it. And so of course, I've been teaching for a time before I went to Richmond, so I understood modalities. I understood Bloom's taxonomy. I understood Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. I employed all these things because I knew they wanted to learn, but they didn't want me to talk to them like I talked to you guys for a whole 45 minutes. They wanted to do some tactile things. They wanted to move around the classroom. So I had to plan and prepare for this, like my life depended on it. So once they saw that I was capable, because they do know that many African Americans are smart now. Don't think that they think that all African Americans are dumb. They believe that there are plenty that are smart, but you have to prove it, you see, because they carry that same history. You understand? And in my job today, I have to prove that I'm worthy. There are many people who see me and say, he's the principal of a school. They just gave it to him. He's the only one. He's probably just there because he's black. You see? I understand that. And so I have to show that I do have some level of intelligence and competence. Well, still people are going to say those mean things about me, like they would say about you if you were principal. Everybody's going to get that in leadership. But there are certain things as a black person, I might get that you might not. And so I have to be prepared for it. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
and I'm glad you're where you are, because when you said you don't have enough black faces to be examples to children, there you are.
Right.
Every child in your school sees you.
Right. Point well taken. Even though I'm putting them in ISS where they see me, usually in ISS. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just want to say that in 1968, I graduated from Longwood, and I taught at Clark Springs School in
Richmond.
Mm-hmm. I was the only white teacher. They were all African Americans. It was baby boomers, so the teachers' jobs were full. And they said, you wouldn't want to go there, would you? And I said, yeah, I have a car to pay for. I need a job. So I went. And it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard with the children. The children were the place. That was where I belonged, and I don't think I was a special teacher, but I sure did feel close to them. They took a field trip once and said something about going through a white neighborhood, and they all went down under the seats. And I was one. I wasn't white to them.
Right.
I said, get up. And it was a really, Martin Luther King had been shot. We
Okay.
had it was a very interesting time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got along just fine.
Right. Yeah, well, you're a special teacher.
Well, I don't know if I was special. I didn't even think about it. It was just, these were my
That's
kids.
probably
There
why
were
you're
no
special.
white teachers, white children to compare them. They were all black children.
It's a very strong sign that you're special if you don't know whether you are special. But in that situation, yes, ma'am.
Well, the some that you couldn't reach, and how did you deal with that?
I had two students, one named Marshall and one named Jade, two little black girls. I could not reach them. So my philosophy has always been, no matter how tough the child is, I'm going to love you harder. See, you can't make me stop caring. It's just not in my heart because I see the trees. You see, these two kids, I could not do anything to reach them. And so you might not get them all. But you see, I remember their names because I wanted all of them. So I couldn't get those two. And I don't know why. What's that? My guess is maybe they had some mental things that had happened to them or some traumatic things that caused some type of mental block or something. It had to be. Because when I saw Marshall one time out of school and she ran to me and gave me a big hug. That's like, gave me like a cognitive renaissance because I'm like, what's going on? This little girl hates me. I mean, what's going on here? So it may have been some other stuff going on there that I couldn't place.
I think it was a great presentation and it was powerful. And me, I see you at the school as a principal, but yet now I see a person which is a light to give energy and the force. I'm just sitting here just seeing, I just see you, I don't know you, but just the words that you spoke and listen, what power. And as the teachers don't understand, it could be a child in the classroom, and what you were saying, if you have never been in a position, if you done already had money, and if you done already had that, they don't know if that child's got to figure, I got to go home, I got to eat a bologna sandwich, I got to go home listen to cussing, I got to go home listen to all kinds of stuff going on, and being that light to encourage that person, you can do it, you can make it, because you do not know what someone is going through, and just looking at a child say, okay, this is it. But getting down and being that light and showing that what Michael said, love, compassion, which we are required all humanity to give. And that is most powerful, that it'll touch. One word can change one person and to bring forth,
That's right.
A change.
That is right. I'm an example of that.
You're smart.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
You just made my day. See, well, most of them got bigger.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there are a number of things that you raised that is not just in school, but in dealing with children all together. We may not be teachers, but we work with children in one way or another, especially if you're working in the church, you're going to be dealing with children. And especially to know that humility is where you start,
Right.
and you can't serve if you're not humble. All those points we still use in our lives outside of school. And children relate to individuals who care.
Right.
And we have all learned that in any time we deal with children, even with our own children. When you get down with them, because I still do it with my great-grandchildren, even though it takes me a while to get up off the floor. But they appreciate that level when you go down with them,
Right.
and you can relate directly with them.
Right.
And you see them where they are.
Right.
All those things we use in our lives every day. And what you did was to give us a summary
Right.
of
It was
how
not
to
new
do it.
information. Right. It's not new information, Ms. Vash. But let me clarify something. You just brought something back to my attention. When I said come down to a level, I'm talking ideologically now.
I know.
I'm not talking about social, political, economic power. You can't lose that if that's what you have in this country. I'm talking about ideologically. So what you said is get down and know the kids. So
Right.
if the kids, like I hear teachers say, all my kids want to do is be rappers. They come to me and tell me, right? So I say, name one. Right. All your kids want to be rappers and you can't name one? Well, that's a problem.
Yes.
And so when I say it's not demeaning you, if you say, now I want to learn a little bit about Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole or Kevin Gates, who these kids listen to. This is who they listen to. So it shows them value when you say, hey, look, tell me a little bit about Kevin Gates. You watch the excitement that they get by you being willing to engage them in something that they value, that they are prejudging you of not value. You see? You can get them like that. Yes. Well, no, I'm sorry. 1 second. Yes, sir.
I've been helping with the after-school reading program at Northumberland Elementary School now for 20 years, ever since it started. It's called Reading Partners.
Uh-huh.
And just this last semester, I had a young man. The first few sessions, I always try to get acquainted with them and learn about their home life, their pets, their sports, anything I can learn about them. And at one point, I asked this young man, second grader, I've been working with second graders for about the last 5 years, asked this young man, what does your dad do? And he said, oh, he's in prison. And he really stopped me. I mean, I didn't know where to go from there. I changed the subject, and we went on. But I talked to the teacher about what he had told me. The teacher did not know that the boy's father was in prison. And some of the other people who I thought should have known did not know. Well, this little guy and I got very close, and we were able to improve his reading substantially during that semester.
Wow.
But you know, after 20 years of doing this, you learn how to approach children. And just so everybody knows, the Reading Partners program is made up of about 50% white, 50% African American, and a few Asians. But we share equally among both of the groups in our teaching.
That speaks to your relationship with that student by the fact that he told you that, and that also speaks to the relationship between that student and that teacher, that he has not told her that. And so when I say it's not demeaning you, if you say, now I want to learn a little bit about Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole or Kevin Gates, who these kids listen to. This is who they listen to. So it shows them value when you say, hey, look, tell me a little bit about Kevin Gates. You watch the excitement that they get by you being willing to engage them in something that they value, that they are prejudging you of
You
not.
said you don't have enough black faces to be examples to children. There you are.
Right.
Every child in your school sees you.
That's right. Point well taken. And one named Jade, 2 little black girls. I could not reach them. So my philosophy has always been, no matter how tough the child is, I'm going to love you harder. So you can't make me stop caring. It's just not in my heart.